Hey folks, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about academic arguments and what are some of the elements that appear in academic arguments that you want to be aware of. So, academic arguments cover most of the material that you will write in college. So, I just want you to be aware of kind of the parts of an argument and the characteristics of this argument so kind of going into any college class, what is expected of you. So, academic arguments are almost always based on research and they use evidence that can be documented. The difference between an opinion and an argument is that research and evidence. So, unless your professor specifically says, I just want your opinion on a particular topic, anytime they're asking for something persuasive, they want research and evidence. Academic arguments are also written for professional, academic, or school audiences, and this means they're likely to know something about the topic. So if you're writing argument for a particular theory in biology and you're writing it for somebody who's never taken a biology class, you will likely have to explain more concepts than you would if you were writing your essay for your biology professor. So that's just kind of something that you want to keep in your mind and be aware of. Academic arguments also make a clear and compelling point in a fairly formal and clear and sometimes technical style. This is going to happen with, language use and syntax and word choice, those sorts of things. So you want to make sure that your academic argument reads like an academic essay. It should not be too conversational. Academic essays also follow agreed upon conventions of format, usage, and punctuation. Maybe in your heart you feel like you shouldn't have to end sentences with a period, and you can write that way in your journal, but when you're creating an academic argument, you have to follow the rules. Academic arguments also use documentation using a professional citation style. Now, whether that's going to be Turabian or APA or MLA, it's going to depend on the class, but you will always cite your work. You will always explain when you use somebody else's ideas or words. And then lastly, academic arguments appeal to reason and they rely on research. Even if you feel very strongly about it, you still have to prove your point using research and reason. So when you are ready to develop an academic argument, this is kind of the checklist of things that you will do to go through that process. The first thing that you're going to do is choose a topic that you want to explore in depth. You will have some classes where your professor specifically tells you what they want you to write about, but if that is not the case, and if you have some choice in your topic, I always very strongly suggest exploring a topic that you want to know more about. A lot of times students think that they'll pick a topic that they perceive as easy, but then the problem is they're not really interested in that topic and it's harder to stay motivated. The next thing that you want to do after you've picked your topic or been assigned your topic is get to know the conversation surrounding your topic. You probably didn't come up with this idea, it probably existed before you, so get to know what other people have said about it and get to know both sides of an argument really well. Assess what you know and what you need to know. So if this is something that you already know a lot about, maybe there will be less in the need to know category. If this is something that you are just starting with, you may need to do a lot of research. Even if you don't necessarily use all of that research in your essay, it's always a good idea to have at least, minimally a base level of knowledge on your subject. Then you want to consider your rhetorical stance and purpose. Why are you writing this? What do you want your reader to believe? I also think it's important to think about your audience. Who is going to be reading this work? And just like we talked about, kind of audience analysis in some previous lectures, think about, what is their stance? Are they open-minded? Do they know more than me? Do I need to impress them with my knowledge? What exactly is going on here? And then spend some time concentrating on the material that you are gathering. Gather lots of research materials and then dedicate a portion of time to exploring those materials. A lot of times students will just kind of, zoom through research articles looking for the quote or the piece of data that they need, and they don't take in those materials. I highly suggest that you dedicate time to them, that you research them, that by the time you leave this, you know more than when you started. And then definitely take special care with documentation. As you're reading and taking notes through these research materials, when you have an idea that you borrowed from somebody else, make sure you write down where you got that idea so that you don't relay it in your paper and then forget that it wasn't something that you came up with. Make notes about what quotes come from what sources so that when you actually sit down to write, it's a lot easier to document those quotes. And then you want to consider your style, tone, genre, design, and visuals. What this means is, where is this paper headed? What should it look like? What style should it be written in? Obviously, if you're writing about a piece of literature, it's going to feel and sound different than if you're writing about a chemical compound. So consider that. Think about the genre within which you're writing. And then think about your design of the document and the visuals. A lot of this will be determined by the type of documentation status that you're using. So, for example, MLA, APA, and Turabian all have specific formats that you'll have to use. But are you using headings or subheadings? Are you using charts and graphs? Do you have any images that you're incorporating? Where's the best place to incorporate those images? So all of these things are things that you want to consider. And then I always suggest that you spend some time reflecting on your draft. The proofreading and editing process is almost just as important as the writing process. Get in there, take time to do that, and then have other people do that for you as well. Give them your paper. Ask questions. Ask them to read it. Ask them to be brutal with that red pen, right? Get as many responses to your draft as you can. And then once you've edited it, given it to somebody else to proofread, edit, or share their thoughts on it, then take it back, edit it, and proofread once more before you submit it. You should never ever submit anything that has not been thoroughly proofread and edited. Okay, so those are just kind of the rules or the standards for academic essays. If you have any questions, just send me an email or hop on to that class discussion board, and I will see you folks later.